Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Joy of Puzzles. I have for you today a puzzle from Hawaii. Lumahai is my only attempt to say that, I won't try again. This puzzle was published in 1991 by the Warren Industries for Rose Art Industries. This puzzle is a licensed Kodak Color puzzle. The Rose Art brand was founded in New York in 1925, and they are today a subsidiary of Mega Brands America. Interestingly, the grandson of the original founder is the chairman of the company right now. So, interesting, it stayed in the family after all these years, coming up on 100 years. So the actual manufacturer is a company called Warren Industries. They're a contract printing and packaging company based right here in the US. They've been in business since 1971. I'll throw up some links for these guys if you're interested in a little more detail about the story and look at the company that actually made this back in the 70s. If you do look at the Rose Art website now, I didn't find many puzzles currently. They seem to be more focused on educational toys or toys for a younger audience than a jigsaw puzzle per se. Lots of colorful and artistic type things. So there was no name given as far as who the photographer was in this case. So I'm just going to give credit to the Kodak company. I assume this came from someone on their staff. So kudos to them for such a classic puzzle type landscape. Well, let's talk strategy. As usual, again, almost always, start with the border. I got to create those boundaries. And as this is a traditional puzzle, and I say that I mean a iconic, beautiful scene, someplace in nature, lots of boundaries and transitions to work from in the puzzle pieces. So that was my strategy in this case. Use the natural boundaries as ways to make smaller quadrants of the puzzle. It helps me build them quickly. So the first boundary I usually use is the sky to the skyline. That creates a nice horizontal plane and dividing off the sky, which is usually the hardest thing to build in just about every puzzle out there, because it tends to be one shade of blue, though this one has a nice gradient color, so it wasn't too bad. After the sky, my intent was the boundary between the beach and the water, or any of the other greenery that crouches on the water. Again, natural color transitions, pieces are easy to find. And then from there, well, the beach was next because those tan pieces stood out in great contrast to the rest of the blues and greens that were in the box. And then, you get to that particular type of greenery, again, bold pieces, the big palm tree up into the mountains, and the smaller palms in the foreground. And all of this will lead to, at the very end, the sky is pretty much as always, the water. The darker greenery actually wasn't that bad. There was enough individual and distinctive leaves and branches and little bits of nature in there that part of the puzzle went pretty smoothly. This puzzle is 500 pieces. The total build time was just under 3 hours. Alright, well, after all the strategy talk, let's talk about the review of the puzzle. I'm going to do 4 categories on a scale of 1 to 5. The first category is the paperboard, or the puzzle material itself. There's lots of variations in this stuff, and I found this one to be right where it should be. Number 3, decent quality. The pieces don't feel flimsy, the paperboard is thin, but at the same time durable. after the quality of the paperboard, we talk about the quality of the cut. And I'm going to put this puzzle slightly above average. I'm going to give it a 4. The pieces were very definitive how they fit. You could be confident that when you put a piece, kind of a standalone piece, normally you kind of build at least 2 boundaries before you put a piece in, but plenty of instances where I put a standalone piece and it was exactly right. Didn't have to fuss with it. The cut was clean. There was no doubt that this fit where it was supposed to. Didn't have to fuss with anything. Very enjoyable in that respect. Difficulty. Well, this one's only a 2. It is a classic outdoor scene with enough diversity that it makes the puzzle pretty straightforward to build. It's also only 500 pieces, so that by its very nature to me is a 2, or at least it should be. Yeah, the difficulty was not high, but a fun puzzle. Bringing us to the 4th category, the most subjective of all the categories, frameability. Would I ever want this? A poster, or a picture, or a screensaver, say? If I was the type of person that would seal the puzzle and keep it forever, would this make the list? And I'm going to give this one a 4. Again, above average. The picture is fantastic. You know, you look at this, and this is someplace you say to yourself, yeah, I'd like to go there. You might, hang it on your wall as places you wish to visit. So it was beautiful enough and crisp enough that, to me, this is a 4. Something that you would post and hang and seal. So again, kudos to the photographer for such a wonderful picture. Overall, it's a 3. The difficulty being low, and yeah, that's probably the only thing. I mean, I'd build it again. Again, at a 3, I would build it again. But it's so quick. It's 3 hours. If you were to build this with your family and you got a couple skilled people, I mean, it's less than 2 hours. You can knock this out in half a football game while you're watching. So not much there as far as a challenge goes, but it's still a 3 and an enjoyable puzzle to build for folks. Family oriented, simple. As the puzzle continues here, we'll jump back to the subject of strategy. As you can see, the quadrants have been chipped away at. The working area with missing pieces gets smaller and smaller and smaller as I narrow in with the most extreme of the colors, and you kind of work your way inward. You work from light to dark, or you end up focusing on just the dark parts, and then you realize, oh well, I've gotten rid of enough of those that there are light parts that show up as a stark contrast, so work on those next, until you get to those final hunt and peck, the worst step of any puzzle at the very end. As much as I ran into it in the sky a lot, even down in the water areas, there was enough of that going on that, yeah, it slows you down, but you get it done. It's not the most fun way to build a puzzle, but you know it's always going to grind down to that with this type of image. Plenty of other puzzle types aren't like this, but these classic, typical scenery type puzzles, they all end up going down that path. The other thing you'll see me do on occasion is rotate a puzzle box around. I find that, especially when the pieces aren't all flipped yet, that it helps. It just creates a fresh perspective on every piece. It's a pretty solid strategy for me. It works out quite well. as you see here at the end, it's very much the hunt and pick with the sky, and try to focus on the lightest pieces and or the darkest pieces and work your way around the perimeter of the unsolved area. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and click that like button. Again, I'll have another puzzle up there soon. I appreciate all you folks out there that are taking the time to sit through this. Thanks again. Bye.